So when Green Carnation released a dark poem, Part 1, The Shores of Melancholia, back, about 6 months ago, it was kind of a big deal. And not just because it was such a good album, not just because it landed on a bunch of top 10 lists at the end of the year and got tons of accolades, but the fact that, as one can discern from the title, it's only Part 1, and it's Part 1 of a trilogy. Well, Part 2, Sanguis, is coming out real soon. I had the opportunity to sit down with vocalist Kjetil Nordhus of the band and talk a little bit about how they made the album and how they're making this trilogy, what's all involved in the lyrics, and how they represent a level of vulnerability that maybe was interesting for him as a vocalist to portray. So get comfortable. We're going to have my conversation with Kjetil Nordhus of Green Carnation coming right up.
Well, excellent. So good to talk to you. I'm so thankful that you had the time to be able to give it to me. It's great to be able to talk with somebody from Green Carnation for the first time. It's you guys have quite the history.
Yeah, it's been a few years now. Obviously, we w- uh, we we weren't active between 2006 and 2016 approximately.
Yep.
But yeah, even without those years, we've been going on for quite a few years. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And my understanding is, as we get to the new album, part two of a three-part trilogy that has been brewing for, I guess, honestly, decades. Is that correct?
Yeah, it has. At least the idea has been brewing for decades.
Yeah.
After releasing Light of Day, Day of Darkness in 2001, it was, that's just one track, one song, 60 minutes. And when thinking about how do we follow up that one, I think that was when we started talking about, say, a double album or even a trilogy for the very first time. Looking back on it, I'm quite happy we didn't do it then, because when I see how much work it has been to be able to finish the trilogy now, I'm not sure we would have had it in us in the early 2000s, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
But well, we didn't know the like the size of the Light of Day, Day of Darkness project either when starting. Though that's maybe the good thing about being young, is that you jump into something you don't know what is. And no, but yeah, it's been so after coming back together in 2016. We wanted to play those shows, 15th anniversary Lights of Day, Day of Darkness shows, and see how it was to be back together. And in 2017, we decided to stay active as a band and also to make new music, and that's when the trilogy idea resurfaced.
Huh? Okay. So we kind of shelved for a little while, but it was always gestating in one way or another, I imagine.
Yeah, and we decided to do it in 2018. We started working on it in 2018, and we kind of understood quite quickly that this is going to take a lot of time. So we decided to make an album first, while working on the trilogy. Kind of because uh, if we hadn't put out any new music between 2006 and 2025 as it was, it would have been, yeah. So we decided to do that, to tell the world with Leaves of Yesteryear in 2020 that we're back and we're making new music. And even then, I think we were hinting that there was a huge project coming up,
Yeah.
and now we're in the middle of it.
Yeah. And that's impressive in many ways because we're talking about a trilogy of albums. We're talking about another album. So essentially, you were working on the equivalent of four albums simultaneously over the time.
Yeah,
And I can think of a number of examples recently of albums that took a very long time to craft for various reasons, but turned out amazingly. How do you think that long development period impacted the trilogy so far?
I think in it impacted it in many ways because, of course, saying from 2018, like we were composing these songs for 7 years. We composed through the COVID time. Obviously, our lives have changed in better and worse ways. There's been, things happening during those years that have kind of influenced maybe some of the songwriting as well. And I think I think the albums have a greater variation because of that. Because if we had written everything within just a very short time, I think it would have been at least a chance for it being more like one-dimensional, maybe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's just a good thing. And but what we did after composing all the songs, and we put all the songs in a pool, and we tried to compose 3 albums that could make sense alone or together with the other albums. So I don't think when you've heard the first album that you kind of missed too much. But I do think and hope that when you listen to the second album, you would feel the same, but you would also feel there is a connection between the first and the second.
Right.
So if you listen to the first album first and then the second album, I think, hopefully at least, they would fit well together as one piece of music. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an interesting approach, the idea of writing a trilogy or constructing a trilogy in a way that each of the parts could be taken separately. It doesn't always work that way. So in that certain sense, as you and again, congrats on the reception for part 1. Obviously, that was very, very well received and got a lot of accolades. So clearly, the long development process was very helpful, as a lot of these tend to be. It gives you a lot of chance to make things just the way you want them.
Yeah, and all the songs, I think we have 10 to 20, maybe 25, up to 30 different versions of all the songs with, big and smaller changes, of course. And one thing I agreed with Sten Roger, who's the composer together with me on all these songs, was that we needed to aim for 100% always, and not send a song through to the studio without it being 100% as good as we can possibly make the song. And sometimes, those last 5% take maybe more time than the first 95% when composing a song. And I'm quite proud, to be honest, that I think we have done that on all the songs on all the 3 albums. And you kind of course, it's been frustrating at times. It's been a lot of work, and although we didn't kind of almost give up at any time, but I do think we can look back on it in a few years' time, maybe, and be extremely proud that we took the extra rounds and we made the extra effort for it to kind of be 100% as good as we can possibly deliver in 2025 and 6. Yeah.
Right. Nice. So in that sense too was, as you're talking about, getting these songs, getting the parts of the trilogy to be able to stand alone, I guess, in a narrative sense, but a lyrical sense. But was there also some drive to have them stand apart in a musical sense, in a compositional sense?
Yeah, I think there are songs on album 2 that wouldn't fit that well into part 1, for example. Part 1 is kind of all guns blazing, and there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. And although we do have a slight pause with Me, My Enemy, then suddenly you go to the black metals lyrics in the next song. And so, but on this song we were discussing, is it too early to have a totally quiet song as song number 2? For example, Loneliness Untold, Loneliness Unfold. And also we end the second album with a very quiet song. These songs are 2 extremely important songs for the album. But we decided to use those 2 songs on the second album to kind of have the second album be a variation from the first. But I do think also that the second album, after that Sanguis opening track, I think it's nice with a little break as well, because that's also a song of, 2 different parts, but it's very massive and it's very energetic, I guess, and organ based, and and then in the studio we went many rounds actually with Loneliness Untold, and we took away instrument after instrument after instrument, and in the end we had hardly any instruments except for the guitar and Stein Roger's voice, because he's doing the vocals on that one.
Yeah. Well,
Which
and that
is,
works.
yeah, it works really well, and it's a very personal song from him to a friend. I did the vocals first, but we discussed that again, it was absolutely good enough for it to be on the album also with my voice, but we decided to try his because there was maybe something missing, and then when he did his vocals, it all fell into place, and it was a finished song. So yeah, so it was worth the try.
Yeah. Well, and my understanding too, very much, is that he wrote some really personal, vulnerable lyrics
Yeah.
for this particular part of the trilogy that were digging into his childhood experiences, and there are themes of like generational or familial trauma going through there, but also some forgiveness, the good mixed with the bad. What is it like for you as a vocalist to have to embody and communicate that level of vulnerability on behalf of the writer?
Yeah. It is a challenge, and I don't think I would have been able to do it if he wasn't one of my closest friends for the last 30 years. So I've been living through some of those struggles very close to him, and I've been taking part in some of those struggles that he's writing about.
Right.
His wife got brain cancer in 2017 and had to operate. It was fairly successful. She's still alive, but even and you know that feeling of not being sure of everything around, like suddenly things can change also to the worse. And we've been discussing this a lot, and that goes maybe on a certain level through all three albums. That like insecurity, and that you don't really control your own life, kind of. And we've been discussing this a lot, and also you're referring probably to the lyrics on the song Sanguis. Um, I know his father, or knew, because sadly he died last year.
Mm.
But Sten Roger and his father found back to each other somehow in his last years. Then Sten Roger told him about basically what the lyrics are about, and they kind of found an understanding, and were beginning to build a relationship again. But sadly, he suddenly died last year. And with me being a part of all this, I feel that I can identify very closely with the lyrics. I know exactly what they're about, all of them, and I have felt many of the struggles myself through him or together with him. So so I don't think I could have done that if I didn't know him so well. But it kind of works out for us, I think. Because we've been working so extremely close together on all these songs as well. So we're kind of almost one person in this, I would say.
Right.
So I feel that's it's a challenging thing, of course, but I feel that we found a way to do it that works for us.
Right. Nice. So beyond the, I guess I'll call it vicarious shared experience you had with him through kind of being a part of his life as he went through these things, do you have any of your, are there parts of this and parts of what he went through that are similar to your own experiences growing up, or did you pick all this up simply from knowing him?
I think more the latter part of your question. I don't have those experiences from my own life. Obviously, when thinking back on it, I'm 50 years old now, and there were so many things we didn't really understand when we were kids, and which like the grown-ups didn't tell us about and stuff. And when thinking back on even some of the closest people to me in the childhood, you understand after growing up what a struggle it must have been for many people, that kind of even neighbors and friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also going through the entire of those three albums. It's like looking on some issues in life from a more mature perspective than when you maybe experienced it, and it's it's quite dark, much of it. But when you see what's going on in the world today, it's kind of hard not to be. I think.
Yeah. There's honestly, there's a lot of people that have in this world that have gone through similar kinds of darkness, and I think in many ways can relate to these stories being told. And for me, my perspective, it's I think refreshing, and I like the fact that somebody's able to share that about themselves in one way to help others understand that it's not necessarily that, you're alone in the struggles, that you're the only one that's gone through it. You know what I mean? Like that people can hear it and go, "Wait, I'm not alone." And so it takes courage. It does to express oneself like that.
Absolutely. And when Sten Roger's father died last summer, he had to go through all his lyrics again because he felt like his father deserved that. Like, but he can. It's still it's real for him anyway. And I think it's a good thing for him that they kind of found back a little bit before his father died, because I think like to do those, or to release those lyrics without that having happened, I think that would be even more difficult for him. But it's true, as you say, these issues, and Green Carnation is a band that's been discussing these issues all our career, from Light of Day, Day of Darkness, which is about the loss of a child, which is a real story from within the band. Of course, there are many people around the world that can connect to those feelings, not necessarily losing a child, but the grief and the sadness when you lose somebody close to you. All people can relate to that, basically. And yeah, I think you're right. And we do get a lot of feedback from people on the themes that we sing or write about. And it's a very strong connection between us and our fans because of, to a certain level, those issues there. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's interesting as we talk about this and we think about the original idea for the album and how far back that came, and then when you decided to start working on it, and then when events occurred afterwards, how much in many ways Sten Roger, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've heard you say the first number.
Yeah.
I would have completely mangled it as an American otherwise.
Yeah.
And you're like, you guys are different people than when all this started. Things have changed, your perspectives and your experiences. So it's a different album than it might have been if it was made earlier, by far.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do think also, like, musically, I'm happy that we did it now compared to then, because after we have 20 plus more years experience in life, as you say, and also as musicians, and we've been very active, all of us, and not least me and Stein Roger, through different bands and projects, and learning and trying out new stuff and learning things all the way. And also, of course, things are happening in your life, and sometimes you have a different understanding on everything, as I said a little bit earlier. And yeah, I think it's a good timing for this. Yeah, so I'm happy that we're doing it now. Yeah, because of many things, but also I do think we have a slightly different understanding on what it takes for it to be as good as we hope the albums are. And the signs from the reception from the first album is that we've been kind of right about, like, that it is a good album, and we're hoping that for the second and third as well. Although, as all bands would say, like, we're extremely proud of the work we've done. So it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a project that well, we wouldn't regret it anyway. But of course, it's very motivating and everything when other people like the music as well.
Yeah. Well, and from my own listening so far up to through the second part, I think fans are going to be very pleased. As much as they have liked the first part, I certainly think they're going to enjoy the second part just as much.
I hope so as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that opening track, Sanguis, is just a banger. I don't know how much thought went into or how much awareness there was or intention, the fact that early intro just is so evocative of like early 70s Deep Purple or something like that with the organs and the driving riffs and everything. Yeah, that starts off. That's a banger. I like that.
Yeah. We actually announced that we're gonna play together with Deep Purple this summer in our hometown.
Oh,
And we're gonna do a best of set because we're gonna have a huge concert in Kristiansand in after the release of the third album in September. We're gonna play all the three new albums in one evening, part one, part two, part three, with all the guests and blah 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 everything. So then we cannot play too much of the new songs with Deep Purple in the summer because that's just a few months before. But I do think we have to play Sanguis because of that intro, not least.
yeah, indeed. Very much. John Lord written all over that. Um, Now, getting into the story of it now, my understanding has been that the trilogy is in some way based on, loosely connected with the story of Ophelia through Shakespeare. And I don't know, is there some foreshadowing I'm hearing in between the story of Ophelia itself, but also in the lyrics? Is there some foreshadowing going on here? Because it seems like we might have a dark ending ahead.
Yeah, you might be right about that. So that's going to be revealed on the third album. I can say a little bit about it because we have announced on the big concert in our hometown in September, there is going to be a symphony orchestra there on the concert and a big opera choir, and that's since you don't hear that on the first or second album, it's quite obvious on the third album, right?
Yeah.
So, without saying exactly what it is, I do think that first and second album might kind of fit together with the music and everything, but I do think you're gonna understand the idea of the entire trilogy when having heard the third album. I think then it's gonna kind of wrap up and show the connections in a little bit clearer way. And that's when the Ophelia poem is gonna be presented somehow, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. What is it about that particular character that I think inspired you guys so?
I think this is I think more like Sten Roger's table.
Yeah.
Although we have talked about it, but the After Rimbaud version of the Shakespeare poem, that's kind of what he fell for. And he's actually rewriting this poem into slightly different. It's a different place, for example, and there's something about a few of those for Sten Roger. It's a few painters, it's a few poets that kind of gets his mind running, and after Rimbaud, and I think it was when reading Ophelia, his creativity started to flow. So I do think that, like, although you will find Ophelia actually on some parts of the albums, I do think we don't write about exactly what Ophelia is about.
Yeah.
Of course, we go through, but that kind of is the starting process for it all, and it's gonna end up with that as well. So it's just I don't know if that makes sense at all, but for us, it has been it has been a kind of an inspiration and something we've been talking about throughout the composing period, and for us, it kind of makes sense everything, but it's not like. You'll see if you understand what I mean when you hear the third album, but if you don't, I hope you will enjoy it anyway.
At this point, I have no reason to be worried about that. So he's inspired, I guess, a lot by classical art and literature. Is that is an interest of yours? You have similar inspirations, or do you diverge from that a bit?
No, I do, but maybe especially when it comes to music. I'm working with a symphony orchestra in my daily life, so I get exposed to both, like new classical music and of course the big, well-known composers and songs. And it's been extremely interesting to work with the symphony orchestra on a really, really high level and talk to conductors on really, really like world level conductors and world level soloists, and try to kind of dive into their brains a little bit about, you know, both inspiration and what it takes for people to be able to do what their ambitions are and stuff. So yeah, I've been finding a few composers that I'm diving into to Gorecki, Polish, quite modern composer nowadays. So I'm listening to his work quite a lot right now, and it's absolutely amazing. That's why I went to this in September. I went to a concert with the symphony orchestra I work with, and they played a piece from Gorecki's Symphony Number 3, and it's some of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So I'm kind of diving into him now. So, but I'm also listening to music like I'm listening to hip hop music. I bought a ticket for Rush the other day. They're from Norway in 27. And the ticket I bought before Rush was to an Irish post-punk band called Kneecap, one of the
Hey.
big new bands in Europe right now. It's a very political band. They're with like a big hate of, you know, England, of course, after
Right.
all the troubles. And tomorrow, no, on Tuesday, I'm going to go to Oslo to see a new country star from the US called Zach Top. So I'm gonna go for 5.5 hours to see him and his band in Oslo. So I'm very much, you know, broad in my musical taste, but of course I listen a lot to Slayer and to Anthrax and to all of those as well. But that's actually something I'm really fond of in my life, is that I have no musical borders when it comes to genres. It's
Yeah.
there is good and bad music in all genres, I guess. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy, and I get a lot of pleasure out of that. So yeah,
A man of diverse interests.
yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
So that's actually interesting. There's part of me that says somewhere along the line, I probably missed that piece of information, but you have my interest piqued with this idea that your other identity is working with a symphonic orchestra and all that. And I'm curious, what do you do in that role?
yeah. I'm working with communications, so
Oh,
I'm not on stage.
yeah.
I try to tell the stories from the orchestra to an audience, and hopefully more people would be interested in coming to see them play live.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting job. There's like 70 people working there as full-time musicians from almost 20 different countries and from so many different cultures. There's one guy from China, and there's some from Latin America and the US and all over Europe, and not least Eastern Europe. So there's so much to learn when it comes to, you know, even the people working there. So it's a very inspiring job.
Yeah. I think for me, at least in my travels, not that they're that extensive, but at least in Europe, it always has struck me as just very much that mixing of various cultures, whether people are there permanently or not, is something I've always enjoyed. I think it only benefits the culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Now, speaking in terms of, I have a quick note in my own day job role as a mental health counselor. There's the one song, the lyric stands out to me very much. I forget which song it is right now because my brain does not retain song titles as well as it once did. But I know there's one where the lyric is directly asking, "Do I need to worry about you?" You know what I mean? You know, like that kind of thing is a very direct thing, and I like the boldness of it, and I don't know if that's come from Stenroger's experience or not, one way or the other, because, you know, I've taught suicide prevention. So, you know, that example there, I think, is a great one.
Yeah, it is his lyrics, of course. Again,
Yeah.
I do think also many people would at some time. The song you're talking about is "Lunar Tale."
That's right.
Is the closing track of the. I'm sure it's that one you mean. The feeling of that the world would be a better place without you. I do think that most people, at least our age, has in some kind of situation thought that sometimes. Uh, well, but also when listening to that song, it's got a positiveness in how it sounds, kind of. So I do think it's interesting that you that question, and it sounds quite positive.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think sometimes when you give up on, not necessarily on life, but on something, it could be a very comforting feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily talking about suicide here, but I understand that that's easy to read into the lyrics, of course, sure. But it could also mean that maybe, like, my family would be better off if I moved to China or something. No, it could mean that as well. So,
Sure.
but we did have to go through that piece of lyric a few times, because at least we don't want people to to see it as us being positive to suicide, for example, because
Right.
that's not true at all. And I'm sure the way you read it, I'm sure you didn't read it like that.
Mm.
But I do think it's an interesting song, in, like, musically and lyrically, and we tried to make that, like, this kind of complexity without putting on a lot of instruments.
Yeah.
There's complexity of feelings in it, and I think it worked out really well, actually. I'm looking forward to play that song live, because that could be a really strong live song, I think. Although it's fairly quiet, but yeah, and that's closing the album. I think that's kind of a bold move as well.
Damn.
But I do think that opens up for what's gonna come on the third album, because as I said earlier, like, we don't have, like, a bridge between the first and the second album, and I wouldn't say that this is a bridge, but I do think ending off with the Lunar Tale, I do think that's not the last word. It would be a very harsh end of that trilogy if that was the very last one, I guess. So there's
True.
a little bit more to come, and that's kind of could be like
Yeah.
maybe comforting to think about as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Slight cliffhanger, but no, I experience the lyrics as really in my world, it's positive. Anytime somebody outreaches in a situation like that and offers just that question to somebody as a positive, it's a hard thing to do, and a lot of people are afraid to do it. So
Yep.
I took it as honestly a positive example. So I'm glad to see it there. Couldn't help but note that because sometimes that stuff creeps into the music I follow. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to hear you read it like that. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I know we're probably up against time here, but I guess if you have a few minutes,
Yeah,
quick
sure.
question. I do see the website shows, I think 4 festival appearances over, the summer, later in the year. It sounds like you were talking about some other, individual touring dates coming up. What can you share with us about, tour dates in the future for Green Carnation?
Yeah, we're working on that now. I think when part one came out, it was a bit too late for to have, like, a big festival season in 2026, because at least the bigger festivals would be booked. The entire 26 would be booked by September. But okay, the first album got an amazing reception, and we're hoping for the same on the second album. And we are also seeing that there is a momentum here now. Like, we have, like, even bigger interest and higher numbers in, like, streaming and blah blah blah, all of that. So we're kind of building something here. I don't think we'll be extremely. We have a couple of more gigs. Discussing a couple of more gigs in 26, but I do hope that 27 is going to be the year that not necessarily we're going to go on a long US tour or a long European tour, but at least have a few more offers to kind of to discuss and to see if we can do with several continents. We've never been to Latin America. That's something we want to do. US we've been to quite a lot, but US is huge as well. So there might be a chance. It's extremely hard for us to get into the US, but as to work. But that's the thing for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
And I am discussing now with a booking agent maybe to do like either a tour where we co-headline with somebody else on our kind of our level, or if we do a headliner tour with one or two support bands in Europe first and foremost, and also in Latin America. So, but it's not up to us, as you know. It's we can be positive and want to play, and in the end, like, people have to contact us and our booking agent, and but hopefully 2027 is going to be even a little bit more active, so we can make this, best of the dark poem shows, and play, sometimes festival sets would be down to maybe 45 minutes or up to 1.5 hours, so we have enough music to fill all the different, like, 75 minutes or 60 minutes or 1.5 hours with those 3 albums. So we really want to hopefully be able to do that, because we've done the album 1 now, plus live on a few occasions, and the song's really, really working out live, with, we have 3 guitarists live now. And yeah, we're 9 people traveling with the band, so of course that's not cheap for people to fly us in to anywhere basically with 9 people, but again, we're not going to compromise on that either. But hopefully the reception for album 2 is going to be great, and that, like, the bookers from the festivals would invite us, and then who knows? Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope so, and I certainly expect offers will be coming at some point. I gotta expect that's gonna happen, and boy, you whet my interest there, the idea of seeing you guys performing with an orchestra. That would be so awesome.
Yeah,
I wanna see that.
we have sold tickets to, I think, 20 different countries now. They're gonna come to our little town in the south of Norway to see that concert, which I think says a lot, and that's kind of the reason why we decided to get back together and to make new music, is that, like, we have some really crazy fans around. We don't have millions and millions, but the people that we are connected to, it's such a strong connection that, like, they travel all over the world to see us play live, and that's, like, no bands can ask for anything more than that, I think. So you would be very welcome to Kristiansand if you can come in September.
It's funny you say that, because we originally were talking with friends about traveling to Norway, specifically, in, September. And then they decided they were going to get married and go somewhere, elope to the Pacific Northwest instead. So if we go without them, we'll probably be in trouble. So we're trying to figure something out, though.
Yeah.
We might be close, though, because, we've got alternate plans now, the girlfriend and I. So,
Yeah. You
you
t-
have
tell
my
me,
interest.
tell me
That
if you
might
want.
work.
Yeah, we'll take care of you.
Excellent, wonderful. Kjetil, it's been so wonderful meeting you. I thank you for your time today. I wish you guys the best. I think as much as the last album absolutely got the public's attention and got accolades, uh, you're continuing on that same trend with this album from everything I've heard. So good work to you guys, and I hope it does well. I hope the touring stuff goes very well, and we all, of course, look forward to part 3 in September. But meanwhile, part 2 comes out April 3rd, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Excellent. All right. Sir, thank you very much. Good luck to you and the band. Take care. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you. Like.
And there you have it. What a nice guy. Kjetil Nordhus, thank you so much, sir, for spending some time with me. And you know what? If we make it to Norway, I'm going to be looking you up, my friend. I'm definitely going to want to check out you guys with a symphonic orchestra if I ever have that chance to do so. Meanwhile, wish you the best of luck for you and the band with part 2 of this trilogy. Hey, I've heard it so far, and yeah, the quality remains just as high as you said on the last album. So I think you're going to be doing pretty darn well. And the rest of you are just going to have to wait. It comes out April 3rd, and the link for pre-order is in the description if you want to avail yourself of that, and I recommend that you do. Hop on that. Meanwhile, hey, Green Carnation fans, leave some comments. Tell us what you thought of the first album. Tell us what you think of the songs we've heard so far from part 2, Sanguis being the first of the singles to be out. Tell us how excited you are for the new album and what you hope to be able to do in the near future as far as seeing Green Carnation or just getting a hold of their music. Talk in the comments, take a moment and drop a like if you could, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, do all those things. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being along for the ride. For now, that's all I have for you. As always, I remind you to just hang loose, never fear to deviate from the norm, and as always, keep it proggy.